focuses of learning about ecology is looking at how energy cycles through ecosystems. So the sun, for the most part in our natural world, is the source of energy for our planet. And it takes autotrophs, plants and algae, to take that energy from sunlight and using photosynthesis, turn that energy into a source that all living things can use. And so scientists will frequently look at how the different levels within an ecosystem interact in terms of this energy. How much energy is available did the plants and algae make? Then when organisms eat the plants and the algae, how much energy do they get? And so that's what we're talking about today, is looking at some of the models that scientists use to see how this energy moves through ecosystems. All right, so matter and energy are constantly cycling through ecosystems. There's no new matter on the earth. All the matter is in a constant cycle. So when organisms are born and grow, they use matter, they add matter to their body. That's how you get bigger. Okay, and of course when organisms die, they decompose, and that matter is given back to the earth to be reused again. And energy kind of does the same thing. All right, ecologists study interactions to make models to trace that cycling. And that's what we're talking about today. Okay? The first one is called a food chain. Now, a food chain is a simple model that scientists use to show how matter and energy move through an ecosystem. When we say simple, we're literally looking at just a direct line of organisms getting energy from other organisms. Okay, so this is an example. So grass does photosynthesis and makes usable energy. Then the rabbit eats the grass, so the rabbit gets the energy from the grass. And then the fox eats the rabbit, so the fox gets the energy from the rabbit. Now notice the arrows. They're going to show you where the energy is going. All right. Now, as you know, there's a lot more things that eat grass than just rabbits. Okay, but this is only talking about rabbits. And there's several organisms that will eat a rabbit. Not just a fox, but lots of things can eat rabbits. And so the fact that those things are not up there is what makes this simple. All right. Now they must be drawn with these arrows between the links. Notice it's grass, and then an arrow, and then a rabbit, and then an arrow, and then a fox. If you don't draw an arrow, you have not created a food chain. So you've got to use the arrows. And most of them are 3 to 4 links long. Scientists like to keep these pretty simple, okay? Just looking at some very, very basic places where the energy is going. All right? Now the thing about those arrows, you see here the arrows again. Arrow from the plant to the herbivore. Arrow from the herbivore to the carnivore. An arrow from this carnivore to that one, okay? Each organism in a food chain represents a feeding step. So one feeding step, second one, third one, fourth one, okay? And these are known as trophic levels. And so in both of these food chains, here's one that you would find on land. Here's one that you would find in the ocean. In each of these, there are 5 trophic levels because there are 5 organisms. That's literally what you do. Count the number of organisms, and you will see the number of trophic levels. All right? The food chain shown here, as I said, have 5 trophic levels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, arrows. There are little bitty ones on this, but they're still there. From the phytoplankton to the zooplankton, so the arrow is showing you where the energy is going. From the zooplankton, the energy goes to the fish. From this little fish, the energy goes to this bigger fish. From the bigger fish, the energy goes to the orca. So the arrows show you where that energy is going. Now, food chains are very simple. They're very easy to study, but they definitely do not show you the complexity in a system. All right? Again, think back to the grass, rabbit, fox. Okay? Deer eat grass. Insects eat grass. Okay? All kind of things eat grass. Okay? So it's not just the rabbit. And when you have that rabbit, okay, he's going to be eaten by foxes, if they can catch him. Wolves will eat rabbits. Owls will eat rabbits. Hawks will eat rabbits. Okay, so there's a lot of other things that eat a rabbit, not just that fox. All right? And then when you talk about the fox is going to eat things other than a rabbit. A fox will also eat a mouse. Okay, if it'll eat a bird, if it can catch a small bird. It'll eat a squirrel if it can catch a squirrel. So we're not seeing complexity when we look at a food chain. To see that complexity, you need to look at a food web. Okay, so food webs are going to show you the complexity. So a food web shows all the possible feeding relationships in each trophic level of a community. So now you're going to start seeing how everything is tied together. They're a lot more natural model than a food chain. Because like I said, most organisms are eaten by more than one thing, and they also eat more than one thing. So this is going to be a little bit more natural. So these are examples of food webs, and as you see all the arrows crisscrossing each other, you can see where the word web comes from. And this would be one that would be on land, and here's an example of one that would be in the ocean. And you can see the arrows kind of go everywhere. Lots of things eat everything, okay? And so that's where the web comes in. You see more of those interactions within the ecosystem. Now, when you're looking at these levels, you got to talk about where organisms get their energy, okay? And that is things like autotrophs, which are also called producers, because they use the abiotic energy, usually sunlight, okay, to make their own food. So plants and algae, they create their own food. So they're autotrophs. So these are the most common, right? All other organisms depend on autotrophs to get their nutrients and energy. Okay, all of the organisms. I don't know why that just got bigger. All right, so everything depends on autotrophs. These are the source of energy for our planet. All right, then heterotrophs are organisms that depend on autotrophs for their source of energy. So in other words, heterotrophs eat the autotrophs. So things that eat only plants or only algae, those are the heterotrophs, or not only that have to get their energy from autotrophs. They're also called consumers since they have to eat. You have to consume your energy. We're consumers. We can't go stand in the sunlight and make energy. We have to eat. So we are heterotrophs because we are consumers. All right, there are different types of heterotrophs. The first one is called an herbivore, and they only eat plants or algae. Okay, you'll never see a deer chowing down on a rabbit. All right, they're going to eat plants only. Same things with pandas and rabbits and grasshoppers. Then you have carnivores, and carnivores kill and eat only other heterotrophs. Okay, you're not going to see a crocodile eat any lettuce. Okay, they're only going to eat other animals. So these are carnivores, and they're hunters. They kill them and eat them. Then you have animals that eat other animals, but they don't actually kill it themselves. They're called scavengers. These are the organisms that you're kind of used to seeing eating roadkill. You always see crows or vultures when you see things that have been hit by cars. It's because they're eating the dead animals. They're scavengers. Right, so they feed on dead organisms. Then you have decomposers. And decomposers, mushrooms, which are a fungus, are a perfect example. Decomposers break down dead things. They literally decompose them. So they're absorbing the nutrients from the dead things, okay? And so they are heterotrophs because they don't make their own energy, but they're actually not kind of eating, they're breaking it down. These are the organisms that turn dead things back into nutrients, kind of send it back to the earth. Decomposers would be fungus, are the big ones, and bacteria. Bacteria are also decomposers. Right? So those are the different ways that organisms can either create their energy or consume their energy. And looking at that, we're going to use that information to look at some chains, how this makes it, this eats it, and some webs.